Hey everybody, welcome back to the War Room. And a couple of days ago, or it was a couple of weeks ago now, I put out a video for the 5 games I'm going to play more of in 2024. I explained a little bit of all of them. However, I want to go into each one deliberately and more intensely to explain why I justified these ones for 2024. I think they deserve a deeper mention because they're really, really good games. I There's so many games being made out there now that you can't even keep up. I can't even keep up with all these games. I can't continue reading or absorbing enough knowledge to keep up with most people. Um, my game group now, my Discord group, the Tanto Manta, that just came out from GMT Games. They're already playing it. Like I can't keep up. I just don't have enough time to read these rules and learn games. God bless their heart. But I picked 5 specific games because I thought that they were really phenomenal, and they are sort of the building blocks to some of the games that we have today. And one of them was Axis and Allies. All right, I love all the war games, but Axis and Allies to me is the quintessential war game for everyone to know. It's the easiest game you can learn, but it's the highest strategy that I can ever. How do I put it this way? Like chess. I could teach you chess in 5-10 minutes, but the strategy is what makes chess a phenomenal repeat game, right? Axis and Allies is the same exact thing. This particular version that I picked, I own as well. It is the anniversary edition. It is the first one to come out with Italy as a playable faction. It also has cruisers. First cruisers to be added into the game. Has its own little special ability of bombardment. Although there's been a lot of issues with the cruiser. It's expensive. It's about 12 IPCs. And people agree that it doesn't have enough oomph. One home rule I love to do about the cruisers is add an AA feature, which historically they were used to protect the carriers. So if a plane comes in there to fight, they get an AA gun effect before a fight. Really cool home rule. I like that. It's also the first one to add the research and development tree. Okay, I added these little tokens, and you hover over them. They give you like an idea of what's what. And this culmination of new stuff kind of led to War Room. If you play War Room, a lot of these features are in War Room, and War Room is a phenomenal game. I love War Room. Anyway, getting back to the explanation, Axis and Allies to me is, people have called it a beer and pretzels game. I highly disagree. When my game group gets together to play this in real life, there is no beer or pretzels being consumed. The guys are intensely playing. They're trying to make their strongest strategies. It's a game where you could push your pieces around. You could be like Risk and just push pieces everywhere, but the wrong move can send everything tumbling down. The German strategy, the Italian strategy, even Russia. The way that they start getting absorbed. This is the 1942 scenario, by the way. If Russia makes the wrong move, then it's like a dominoes effect. It just starts falling around all over the place. The players having to interact and actually work with one another is so important, and communication with your team has to be there. There's pylons and pylons of strategy for all sides, for each individual. Also, there's strategies that are grand strategies that are for the allies, for the Axis. There's even strategies specifically for sea zones, right? For India, right? Everything has a strategy. You could literally spend the next 2 days reading up strategies on this game that are so deep and intense. To me, Axis and Allies, I played this when I was in junior high. It was one of the first times I got it. I remember the first box had the swastika on it. You can't find that no more. I lost that game. I wish I had it, not just because it was a swastika, but because you can't find that no more. So it's a rare box. I know that Europe can't have swastikas. I get that, but I think that would have been worth some money. Somebody out there would have bought it. It's just one of those games where you could pick it up in a matter of minutes and start playing, and I got hooked, and I really, really liked it. I mean, I never seen a game with miniatures until I saw Axis and Allies. And I know that there's lots of games out there with miniatures, but for me, this was the first one I ever played. Here I am, I got these little toy soldiers, and I'm pushing them in, and I'm actually having a fight with my little toys. I never saw that before, and it was just so cool. You know, I mean, look at why. How do you not play with a little bomber? You know, and go in the air. You know, it was such a cool experience. You know, playing with my brothers when I was a kid. I'm not trying to ramble. Oh, and it introduced China as a faction. The U.S. actually controls China, and China doesn't have any IPCs, but it generates dudes for as many, depending on how many of their original areas that they own. They have specific rules. They can't leave into the water. They can't go past their borders. And this added more intensity into the game. I think in the original game, it just used U.S. troops in China. Now China does have its own colors in the real life anniversary edition. The composition of your army was important, right? That was something I never played before until Axis and Allies. For example, bringing in an artillery piece with an infantry gave the infantry more strength. That was something I never heard of before, right? These are, the infantry are terrible. They only hit on ones when they're attacking. But if you push in the artillery with the soldier, now they're hitting on twos. And so now your chances have gone up. And I started learning more and more about odds. And I started learning more and more about unit compositions, right? Tanks could blitzkrieg. You know, if these soldiers weren't here, it could literally take over areas as it goes through. These were cool ideas. These were cool little nuances in games I've never seen before. And it added layers of strategy. And since then, I mean, they've come out with so many different versions of Axis and Allies. You know, Axis and Allies D-Day, Axis and Allies Pacific, Axis and Allies Europe, which if you put those two together, you get your infamous Global 40, which is highly complicated. I've never played it yet, but it's a highly complicated version of Axis and Allies. So you go really, really simple to really, really complex. So there's something for everyone when it comes to Axis and Allies. I think there was an Axis and Allies miniatures game, right? It had cards, and you could paint the little miniatures, and you could have like an actual tabletop war game with some of them. Axis and Allies is such a phenomenal multitasking, multi-use game in many, many aspects. And, you know, I've even seen people use the pieces for other games that are trying to design. I mean, it's an all-in-all great feeling game, and you could get anybody to play. I can get my 10-year-old to play. I can get my friends to play in minutes. And you can have a World War game night in one night. There are some versions of this game, like Global 40, that can't be done in one night because it's so complicated. It's so difficult, and there's like 20 other factions, like France and all that stuff. But you can make this game as intense or as easy as you want. And so I highly recommend Axis and Allies to anyone who wants to get into wargaming, but they want to start off slow. This is a great start. And then you could build up to something more intense. You don't even have to leave Axis and Allies. And then when you're ready for some really grand strategy games that has the same feel, I suggest the game War Room. War Room is probably, to me, one of the most intense war games you'll ever play. Larry Harris, to me, is just one of those guys who found something and went with it and then held on for dear life, and he made a good choice. and he designed one of the greatest iconic war games that anybody can buy anywhere in the world and start playing literally anywhere, anytime. As long as you got the table space now. I mean, they even got a 1941 game, which I own too. I'm looking at right now on my shelf, which is so tiny. It only has a few pieces. It doesn't even have artillery. It doesn't even have artillery. That's how small it is. 1941 is the smallest version of Axis and Allies. When I bought Anniversary, this was probably the largest Axis and Allies game I ever played and had in my possession. Now that's gone. Like I said, Global 40 has taken that to a whole new level. So this is Axis and Allies. This is one of the games I am playing this year in 2024. I'm encouraging anyone to join me if you so wish. Let me know. We can set something up. If you've never played this before, even better. It's an easy teach. Just let me know. And I encourage anybody to give this a shot. All right, guys, have a great day. My next video, it'll be one of the other 5. I'm probably going to go with Versailles 1919 next, maybe. But I plan to keep doing all the 5 videos for all the 5 games I intend to play this year. So keep a lookout for those. All right, guys, take care.